So joining me now is Chris Dombrowski from the New Jersey metal band Sentinels. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm great, man. How about you?
Yes, I'm good. Finally see the light at the end of this long tunnel.
Yeah, definitely is looking somewhat like the end of the tunnel. Hopefully it stays that way. Everything's looking good though on this side for the most part.
So
But thank you for having me on the show, man.
yeah, it's my pleasure. So just tell us a bit about Sentinels. When did it form, and just a bit about the band?
So Sentinels formed in 2012. About then, me, Thomas, and Danny were all in a band beforehand, and then we started this new band, Sentinels. And we wrote a little EP. We didn't really think it would really do anything, and then it got a little more traction than we thought. So we were like all like 15, 16 when it came out. So we were like, let's just keep going with it, see what happens. Released another EP in 2016, and then in 2019 we put out Unsound Recollections. And then that kind of paved the way towards Sharptone and where we are now. But yeah, we've gone through a bunch of member changes, but the lineup we have right now, I think, is definitely the strongest that it's been.
So musical influences, so your personal influences first.
So growing up, I love Guitar Hero. So I got a bunch of inspiration. Yeah, right. Guitar Hero 3, the best, one of the best video games.
That was the one what everybody got.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't do the Through the Fire and Flames on even hard, but I was able to get it on medium. But Eric Johnson, like Cliffs of Dover, that had like a huge, like when I first heard that, I went to like guitar lessons and I was just like, hey, teacher, can you just teach me the song? So that was like one of the first hugely guitar driven songs that I feel I got behind and really inspired like a bunch of melody with how I do things. But as far as more recently, I feel like Daughter, a bunch of I feel indie, more experimental stuff, like Daughter, the Japanese House, just a bunch of stuff that I feel gets behind the ambience in our music. I love metal, obviously. Metal is amazing. I love Meshuggah, Voljarda. I think it's always hard to think of like recent metal bands because there's just been a lot. Born Anew. I'm trying to think of like band shirts that I own,
Yeah.
But those are the main ones that come to my mind, I think. When it comes to like the heaviness, definitely like Humanity's Last Breath, Voljarda, Meshuggah. But yeah, those are like the main 3 or 4 that I can think of off the top of my
head. So what sort of bands influenced the Sentinel sound?
That I feel that for sure is deeply rooted within like Structures, Reflections, Ion Dissonance, Tony Danza a little bit. I think we started out more sounding like Tony Danza with like the crazy guitars, all the tapping stuff. But I think as we've gotten older and we've started to kind of want to do our own thing with Sentinels, we kind of wanted to drift away from the chaoticness and kind of add more of an ambience texture or layer to everything. So like I said before, like Daughter is like a huge inspiration to that ambience. Japanese House too, and surprising enough, like some soundtracks too, to movies like Hereditary, Tenet. That one's also really, really good. But yeah, those are the main 2. I think that when it comes to pulling ambience and more of like the pretty stuff that we do, that's also, and even animate too. That's a huge influence as well.
So the album, it is your debut full-length album, titled Haunted by Design. Collapsed by Design, should I say. So you did plan on releasing it 2020, but you sort of said I will release it in 2021. Is this because of this pandemic? You just sort of pushed back the release?
Yeah, that definitely had a part in it. We wanted to be able to tour off of it and be able to kind of like market it a little more on the road. So we wanted to wait till the perfect time of being able to tour. And then also though, the pandemic has helped out with creating the album itself, because we started doing pre-production with Randy LaBeouf at Graphic Nature in early 2020, like February, like right before the pandemic hit. And originally the plan was we were going to do pre-pro in half of February. And then all of March, we were just going to spend recording it, just drilling it and just really getting everything down and basically be out of the studio by April. But because of COVID and a vocal change up that we had, we wound up working on ambience for about like 2 months or a month. Vocals we worked on for a month. Basically, we were really able to take our time with the release, which is something we didn't really expect to do. Like, we obviously expected to put a lot into it, given the time that we were, but being able to go longer than a month was a blessing in disguise with COVID, because we, like I said, went in February, but we realistically weren't even done with the record by like June. I think we finished the record like midway through July.
So we'll just come back to COVID in a bit. So the album, like you said, you had the time to spend more time on it. Did that come out for better as you thought when the album was finished?
One more. I think you cut out a little really quick.
So the album, like you said, you had that time to really perfect it. So once it finished, was you pleased with how it came out, or did it come out better than you thought?
Oh, it surpassed all of our expectations. I think hearing back, especially recently, we were able to get like the stems for the album, so we were able to just get like the individual tracks for like the guitars, the ambience, the vocals, the bass, and hearing back, it almost put me to tears from how like pretty the ambient sounds, and how basically I feel like this album it definitely has a like a set point of my life that I think back to. And I'm just so happy that it came out this way, because, you know, everyone was kind of hurting during the pandemic. Everyone didn't know what was going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty. But when we were in the studio, that was the one thing that we were certain with, that we were like, this is the best piece of work that we can put out possibly.
So a lot of the bands I have spoken to about the pandemic, they've sort of said it's sort of helped them just have a break off the road and just focus on writing and music. So was that a similar thing for Sentinels, just having that time off the road?
Yeah, I feel time off the road, as much as we loved it, it definitely was needed. I mean, we were never really like a heavily touring band, but when we were before COVID, we had plans, you know, with Sharp Tone to maybe do the record and then tour nonstop off of it, and that was coming really soon and kind of just creeping up. So we were like, oh, we just want to make sure, you know, we're comfortable, you know, like our bank accounts. We want to make sure that we're as tight as possible. We want to have all this new material down, and then even write material for the next release, because if we're going to be on that constant touring regimen, then we're probably not going to have as much time to write at home, because I usually just write into my computer in Logic, but I don't have a laptop, unfortunately, so I wouldn't be able to bring anything on the road to really work. So I was able to get a hands-on with just finishing a lot of material for the next album. We were able to save up a little bit, you know, work for whatever we could. You know, pandemic closed a lot of our jobs down for a little bit, so we were trying to, you know, do as much as we can and make some kind of income. And like I said before, just working on the record itself, it just came out. We don't think it could have come out as good as it did unless, you know, we put in that extra, you know, like 4 months, 3-4 months. So I think the pandemic definitely was a blessing in disguise, to say the least.
Yeah. So Chris, thanks for taking the time out to have a chat with us. It has been
of course,
a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck.
Thank you, man. It's seriously been a pleasure too.
Yeah, and good luck with the album.
Great. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.